What's up? Today, I wanted to discuss something interesting I saw growing into a discussion over the past couple of weeks. Uh, no pun intended because of the context of what we're going to be talking about, but it's something I refer to as Goongate. Marvel Rivals, for people who don't know, is an insanely popular free to play hero shooter game that exploded in popularity in late 2024 and still continues to be successful to this day. The game is very intuitive for the most part, and it sports a roster of over 50 playable characters with various different maps and pretty cool modes and stuff. It's pretty different. Personally for me, it's not my cup of tea. I'm more of an Overwatch type of guy, but I've definitely noticed the success of Rivals early on and throughout the time that it's been in existence. It's been really amazing to watch it grow, and I'm grateful for its existence because Blizzard became kind of lazy with Overwatch and started to cancel a lot of things they were promising to us. But once Marvel Rivals came into the room and kicked the doors down and everything, that's when Overwatch became a better game itself. And as consumers, it's really nice when we can get competition. And Overwatch pretty much just owned the entire sector of gaming when it came to the style of game it is. So once Rivals came into the same sector, it pretty much made things a bit more balanced, and it gave Blizzard that competition they needed to start actually implementing things that made the game funner for us, the users, because at the end of the day both companies are competing for our attention. So it's all about who can offer the best product. And Rivals, I respect them because they helped us push the developers at Blizzard to create a better game, and I'll always appreciate that. But these free to play games are known for creating forms of monetization that give users access to special skins, which allow users to express themselves with their favorite characters. And, it just gives you that individualistic property that most people are looking for, especially when it's a game you really love. Um, Rivals has been making a lot of interesting skins lately, but some of them been getting pretty weird lately. Uh, I think it's because of a multitude of reasons, but we'll get into that later. Some people have been referring to them as being goonish. It's a new age term that pretty much means like overly sexual or sexual in nature. Um, but the risque skin designs aren't really a new concept, especially when it comes to the female characters. For years, it's always been like different variants of female characters in certain games that have more of a overtly sexual tone to them, or they're showing like a little bit more skin than what their counterparts are, like such as the men. Uh, and they recently made a Captain America skin, and it seems as though they were trying to like balance things for everybody because people the small minority of people who were complaining about the female characters being the only ones who were being overtly sexual. uh this skin they created has started a debate online, and it has caused quite a rift in the community about what's acceptable and what's completely inappropriate when it comes to the skin designs. Some people enjoy the skin and says it offers the perfect parallel, especially with how female rivals have been designed to be what some may call more like sexual when it comes to their design. Um, they believe that it's only right that the male counterparts shouldn't be exempt from the same, I guess we could call it, goonification process. I understand both sides of the argument, but I believe we just sometimes need to take a step back and remember that this game is accessible to not only just adults but to kids. And I believe the Captain America skin should basically have never been as hmm, it shouldn't have been as exaggerated as the design turned out to be. Um and it became a bigger talking point, I feel like, because of the exaggerated body proportions. And at some point the developers should have noticed how weirdly apparent it looked, and probably should have just dialed it back before its release. Because if I was a developer who was designing the skins, I definitely would have noticed that and probably would have patched that way beforehand. And speaking of patch, they did actually wound up nerfing the skin a few days later. um they made Captain America's junk a little more proportionate to his body, but at that point, the damage had already been done. Some people believe that the developers were simply like catering to their community tastes, and I would hope that that wasn't the case. I would rather have the focus be more so on the gameplay versus the aesthetic and the jiggle mechanics and all that stuff, because it gets weird to a point. It's like, why are you playing a game? If you want to look at like something mature rated, you can do that pretty easily. Like, we all know how to use the internet. You don't need to go on Marvel Rivals to get your fits. So that's just a crazy weird concept by itself. And part of what made Marvel Rivals successful wasn't only its huge roster of characters, but it was its innovation, the creativity, and the overall direction that they took when they first came on to the market space. They had a mission, and I think they're starting to get just a tiny bit lost in what their true purpose is. And I believe they just need to get back to their roots. So let's hope they get back to what made them great. How do you feel about the state of Marvel Avengers? Sound off in the comments below. And if you could, like and subscribe. And as always, thank you for your time.